Story 1. Sinkholes. I often think about the man who was in bed when a sinkhole opened up and swallowed him. His brother could hear his screams but could do nothing to help. Story 2. Rabies. Once symptoms appear, chances are you are already in serious trouble. There are very few known cases of someone surviving rabies without the vaccine, and as of 2016, only 14 people are known to have survived it. If you get scratched or bitten by an animal, it is better to be safe than sorry and get it checked out. Story 3. Burning alive. No, not dying in a house fire, where smoke will get you before the flames, but literally dying in flames or surviving for a short while with severe burn injuries. Burn injuries are absolutely horrific. Story 4. Suffocation. The deprivation of oxygen is an experience that scares even those without a functioning amygdala, the part of the brain that regulates emotions such as fear. These individuals are some of the most fearless among us. Story 5. I served in the Marine Corps for 6 years and was constantly deployed to countries in Asia via naval carriers. There is nothing more terrifying and humbling than being in the middle of the ocean, especially during the night. Story 6. The brain-eating amoeba is a deadly parasite that can infect humans through contaminated water. Story 7. To me, it's the fraction of a second of realization to the question, why does anything exist at all? Why is there matter, our Earth, our galaxy, a universe? How did it come into existence? What was before it and what will come after it? There might as well be nothing at all, no existence of anything, no matter, no thoughts. It's impossible to imagine because to think about it, there must be something in the first place. Trying to grasp that is impossible for the human mind, but on some nights I feel like, for a tiny moment, I come close to a brief realization of what this question means, and it's terrifying. The brain shuts off immediately after that fraction of a second, and it's hard to reach that point again, but it's such a deep-seated horror that it lingers for a while. Story 8. Other people's thoughts are a mystery. You will never truly know what is going on in someone else's mind, whether they adore you, despise you, or imagine harming you. Story 9. Existence itself. The most terrifying thing is simply being, to be, for a flicker of time, awake inside a world that never asked for you, conscious beneath a sky that cannot answer, carrying the unbearable weight of knowing you will end. The endless ending. Not sleep, not rest, but non-being. Try to grasp it. No thoughts, no senses, no awareness. Not darkness, darkness is something. This is the collapse of the self into absence. A void without shape, without edge, without witness. Not even you to know that you are gone. And yet you are here, and the brute fact of being contains its opposite. To exist is to define the absence that will follow. To live is to feel the contours of your own erasure. Would you choose this? To end completely? To vanish into an infinite nothingness so total that even the memory of memory dissolves? No pain, no peace, no return. That is the horror, that you are conscious enough to ask the question, and finite enough that one day you will not be here to hear the answer. Story 10. Dictators who believe they can invade any sovereign country and claim it are a cause for concern. It is frightening, leads to death and destruction, and is generally harmful to the mental health of all involved. Story 11. Human nature. Most of the things mentioned here are terrifying but highly unlikely. I am actually scared of how we react to the inescapable eventuality that we are slowly destroying our planet. The collapse of agricultural zones, food chains, ocean currents, and habitable land forecasts a world going to war over resources. The future will be filled with desperate people trying to survive, and we have seen that there is no limit to how depraved or cruel we can be to each other, even when we aren't fighting for resources. During the Holocaust, individuals climbed over each other to get the last of the fresh air before succumbing to the gas chambers. Now imagine a similar scenario at the planetary level. That is our future, and it terrifies me that I might witness that in my lifetime. Story 12. A few handfuls of extremely wealthy individuals we may never have heard of are pulling the strings and manipulating the masses. They control everything. It is a concerning thought, in my opinion. Story 13. The banality of evil. Good German citizens who rounded up Jews and placed them in concentration camps. Infants were put into gas chambers. People were hanged on meat hooks while still alive, and their organs were removed while notes were taken. Scientists submerged individuals in freezing water to gather data on how long it took to freeze to death. American college students were willing to administer 450-volt shocks to unseen subjects in scientific experiments as long as someone else took responsibility. Do not believe it cannot happen here, as it is about to. Story 14. Natural disasters are a concern. In my area, we primarily experience monsoons, but I would never choose to live where tornadoes or hurricanes could occur. The thought of it frightens me. Story 15. What do we need all of these extra people for when they take our jobs? We don't really believe we will just get lucky with a 2-day work week. It's a beautiful lie, like getting complete universal health insurance in the United States. Is life going to get better somehow? We already can't tell real and fake news. Unbiased journalism is dead. Individualism has become the priority, and soon we will be teaching artificial intelligence everything we know privately. The closest feeling I ever had to that was being replaced by an intern. I took pride in teaching them my job and wish I had known all of the shortcuts I shared when I was their age, only to be replaced because they would do the tasks for free. Artificial intelligence is here, and people celebrate that at the cost of humanity. Story 16. Random, uncontrolled car accidents. I was about 2 car lengths behind an SUV the other day. The car was driving normally, the weather was clear, and there was little traffic. The driver braked and started pulling off to the shoulder. As soon as her front passenger tire touched the grass, the car violently veered right into the ditch. It hit an embankment of sand and flipped over like in a movie. I called emergency services, and the police arrived in less than 2 minutes. The car's roof was caved in on the driver and passenger side, and the rear hatch was pinned against a tree. Fire and emergency medical services arrived and pulled the woman out, the only person inside the car, and she was responsive and visually okay. Given the circumstances, everything went right for the driver's safety. If she had been just 5 or 10 feet further down the road, she could have hit a fire hydrant head-on, possibly not flipped, and could have continued directly into a tree. The thought of simply doing your thing while driving with no one else involved, yet having your life end, shook me up. Story 17. Nuclear weapons, prion diseases, fans of Taylor Swift who dislike her first 3 albums, the looming threat of authoritarianism in the Western world, and the anger of an individual with connections at town hall are all matters of common sense. Story 18. Dark matter is truly intriguing the more you learn about it. Essentially, 80 to 90% of the universe consists of unaccounted for matter. Story 19. Environmental collapse is entirely preventable but is being ignored or refuted so that a group of wealthy individuals can maintain their power. Story 20. Locked-in syndrome is a condition where an individual experiences total body paralysis while retaining normal cognitive abilities. It can be described as a waking nightmare, where one cannot move but can feel and process everything as they normally would. Story 21. Severe radiation poisoning causes the body to stop functioning correctly and disintegrate over a period of weeks, which is a terrifying prospect. Story 22. Radiation poisoning is a serious condition. One mistake can lead to months of suffering as your DNA fails to create new cells properly. Eventually, this may result in slipping into a coma and death. Story 23. The cartel is something the government cannot stop. Mexico is infested with gang violence and drug-related crime. El Salvador has been fortunate to manage the danger in their country and has strong law enforcement, but Mexico has been heading down a troubling path. Story 24. Global fear of the unknown or time reflects a significant barrier in our understanding of various aspects, including society, civilization, and technology, as well as the broader universe. It is unlikely that we will ever fully comprehend what occurred on neighboring planets millions of years ago, nor will we be able to accurately reconstruct life from hundreds of years ago or predict what awaits us in the future. Compounding this uncertainty is the relentless flow of time, alongside the realization that humanity's entire existence occupies less than 0.1% of the universe's timeline, which is truly frightening. Story 25. Love is something we have no control over, and it can cause pain like no other when it eventually goes wrong. It is both the best and worst thing that can happen to a person. Story 26. Rett syndrome is a debilitating neurological disorder. You have a daughter who develops normally until around 6 to 12 months of age, when her development begins to slow. Your pediatrician reassures you that development varies from child to child, so you remain optimistic. However, her condition progresses. She begins to lose skills she previously acquired. She stops speaking, experiences tremors and muscle rigidity, loses purposeful movement, and may develop breathing difficulties or apnea. Eventually, seizures occur. Despite the maximum treatment for these symptoms, there is no cure. Your once healthy daughter may become unable to walk or care for herself and can hardly express her feelings. She still smiles and engages with her surroundings and can be cared for, but full recovery is unlikely. This is now her reality and your reality, and there is nothing you could have done or can do to change it. Rett syndrome is truly devastating. Story 27. Is there anything in nature more horrific than spiders? Imagine a science fiction film about a creature that creates elaborate adhesive traps and then waits in the shadows, paralyzing you once you get caught in its trap, embalming you while you are still alive, and then, when it is finally ready, devouring you by injecting you with enzymes that literally liquefy your internal organs and sucks you dry. You don't need to come up with evolutionary or psychological reasons why humans are terrified of spiders. They are genuinely horrifying in their own right. The only thing that rivals spiders is the wasps that prey on them by paralyzing them and infesting them with their own larvae to eat them from the inside out when they hatch. Never were two nightmares more aptly matched for each other. Story 28. Republicans are an entire party devoted to making life worse for anyone and everyone who is not exactly like them. Story 29. Honestly, the idea of losing my mind to something like Alzheimer's frightens me more than anything else. Story 30. The scariest and most terrifying thing that actually exists is the inevitability of the unknown, both in the vastness of the universe and in the depths of human existence. The fact that we are tiny, transient beings floating in an endless, indifferent cosmos with no inherent meaning except what we create is horrifying in itself. But even closer to home, the mind can betray itself. Diseases like Alzheimer's erase identity, schizophrenia distorts reality, and locked-in syndrome traps a person inside their own body, fully aware but unable to move or communicate. The true terror is not ghosts or monsters, but the realization that reality itself is fragile, and we are helpless against forces far beyond our understanding or control. Story 31. The unknown. It's exactly why we're scared of the dark. We are not usually frightened about being alone in darkness, but horrified that something else could be there with us. This same fear of the unknown extends to other possibilities, such as what lies beneath the oceans or if there is life somewhere else in space. It even influences our fears regarding politics and what could potentially happen if malevolent forces are allowed to remain in control of our countries. I was terrified of the prospect of nuclear war when I was younger, and having someone like the current president in the United States made it even worse, as they were clearly harmful. I would never know when or if the moment that could end my life would occur. Story 32. Trump ushers in the death of democracy. A world without democracy is a scary place. Look through the history books. Story 33. The fact that there will always be a shifting horizon to any knowledge and that the universe is as unknowable as it is impermanent. Story 34. Autonomous drones are being armed and deployed to kill people. I recently read an article stating that about 70% of human casualties on the Ukraine-Russian front line were attributed to drone warfare. It mentioned that the most effective drones were the more autonomous versions, and that anti-drone drones and mothership drones were being developed. This realization was quite overwhelming. I remember when the existential risks associated with artificial intelligence scenarios, like those depicted in science fiction, were dismissed as absurd. People questioned who would be foolish enough to arm robots, grant them autonomy, and send them out to specifically kill human beings. Story 35. Global warming. The actions of the political right have pushed it off the agenda, but it is still present and getting worse. Billions of people are at risk of dying due to water scarcity, sea level rise, crop failure, and, most certainly, war. Story 36. I used to think it was ignorance. Then I thought it was stupidity, which is still a close second. These days, I am pretty sure it is greed. Story 37. The scariest thing for me at this specific time is a world leader who is undermining global economic and political alliances for purposes and goals that are not clearly stated and may not be reasonable. In a recent interview, he claimed that Canada needs to become the 51st state of the United States, and then immediately stated that Canada has absolutely nothing the United States needs, providing a list of Canadian resources that the United States does not require. To my knowledge, he has not explained how these two claims fit together in a reasonable or even unreasonable way. My wife would ask, "Now, Donnie, do you need Canada or do you just want Canada?" Story 38. The presence of a large group of people in our society who derive entertainment from watching others endure suffering and death is troubling. It is alarming that individuals will pay to see films like Hostel or Saw. Arguments suggesting that such content serves as a cathartic outlet are not convincing. If you find the need to observe the complete degradation and torture of a human being for release, it's concerning. Story 39. Climate change is a slow-moving issue, allowing those who benefit from maintaining the status quo to continue misleading the public. Story 40. If there is a divine being, what if it can simply erase all of existence like Grand Zeno? No matter what you accomplish, it means nothing if Grand Zeno is bored or in a bad mood. If there is no divine creator or ruler, where did all of existence come from? There is the Big Bang and expanding galaxies, but it is remarkable how well everything aligned for us to be here and now. Story 41. Cancer. I lost a loved one to this disease. I lived with her in pain 24 hours a day for 6 months. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, not even the most evil person. Story 42. A planet-killer asteroid. Because there is literally nothing we could do if it is not detected a decade in advance. Story 43. The overall vastness of the universe highlights our fragile existence. Asteroids, the eruption of Yellowstone, floods, extreme weather, and nuclear wars all pose significant threats. Story 44. Rabies is the closest thing we have to a literal zombie virus with a 100% fatality rate. Bobbit worms come in a close second. Story 45. Cordyceps fungus takes over an insect's brain and causes it to climb to a high point and latch on. Then the fungus bursts out of the insect's body and disperses, using the high point to spread its spores effectively. Story 46. A high-power cosmic ray could fry the planet and its inhabitants instantly, and we would never know. Story 47. Chronic wasting disease affects deer and elk. There is no treatment or cure. This disease poses a serious threat to wildlife. Story 48. People actually voted for someone who is not intelligent and has access to the nuclear launch codes and is preparing to start another war, not a small one, I might add. Story 49. I don't know, probably destructive or isolating cosmic events that we cannot comprehend and have no control over. Story 50. I'm not afraid of anything that I cannot control. What's the point in that? In fact, I cannot think of a single thing that I am scared of. Story 51. I don't know what is worse, ignorant individuals with power or ignorant individuals in large groups. Both can cause significant harm. Story 52. Epilepsy is challenging. Anyone who understands what postictal means knows the impact it can have. During this state, individuals may feel heightened adrenaline and aggression, which can lead to unintentional harm to others. Story 53. Adrenochrome is associated with child trafficking, the torture of children, and the harvesting of their adrenaline-filled blood to create immortality drugs and other skin and health products for celebrities and those willing to pay. Story 54. Manipulators are present in everyday life. You never know what they want, when something will happen, or how severe the outcome will be. Story 55. Anglerfish, just look at them and imagine being alone in the deep, dark ocean with only its fluorescent light guiding you in the abyss. Story 56. Medications can have side effects that significantly impact your quality of life, disable you, or even be lethal. Story 57. Humanity has proven many points in history repeatedly. At the same time, the beautiful aspects of humanity strive to salvage and uplift. Story 58. Dementia. I was saddened to see my granddad suffering from it. I hope my dad and I do not share the same fate. Story 59. As a parent, I am aware of the existence of predatory and dangerous individuals. While such cases are exceptionally rare and the likelihood of anything happening to my children is very small, they do exist. Story 60. Mother Nature. As humans, we have come a long way and are the most advanced species on this planet due to our inventions and our opposable thumbs. Nevertheless, we remain vulnerable against Mother Nature. All we can do is observe and repair the damage afterward. Story 61. The instinct not to breathe underwater is so strong that it overcomes the agony of running out of air. No matter how desperate the drowning person is, they do not inhale until they are on the verge of losing consciousness. At that point, there is so much carbon dioxide in the blood and so little oxygen that chemical sensors in the brain trigger an involuntary breath, whether the person is underwater or not. This is known as the breakpoint. Laboratory experiments have shown the breakpoint to occur after 87 seconds. It is a form of neurological optimism, as if the body is saying that holding our breath is killing us and breathing in might not kill us, so we might as well breathe in. When the first involuntary breath occurs, most people are still conscious, which is unfortunate because the only thing more unpleasant than running out of air is breathing in water. At this moment, the person transitions from voluntary to involuntary apnea, and drowning begins in earnest. A spasmodic breath draws water into the mouth and windpipe, leading to one of two outcomes. In about 10% of individuals, water touching the vocal cords triggers an immediate contraction in the muscles around the larynx. The central nervous system judges something in the voice box to be a greater threat than low oxygen levels in the blood and acts accordingly. This is known as laryngospasm. It is so powerful that it overrides the breathing reflex and ultimately suffocates the person. A person experiencing laryngospasm can drown without any water in their lungs. In the other 90% of individuals, water floods the lungs, ending any diminishing transfer of oxygen to the blood. The clock is running down now. Half conscious and weakened by oxygen depletion, the person is in no position to fight their way back to the surface. The very process of drowning makes it increasingly difficult not to drown, creating an exponential disaster curve similar to that of a sinking boat. Story 62. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease is always fatal, and people are fortunate to live 2 years after a diagnosis. The worst part is that it is a prion disease, and prion are virtually indestructible. Only heat at 1000 degrees Fahrenheit can kill them, so infected beef will always remain contaminated. This is why I avoid eating beef. I will eat chicken and other red meats that are not as susceptible to prion, but that's all. Story 63. The World Economic Forum is the power behind all government and banking. They are unelected and only accountable to the elite. Their plan is not beneficial for the majority of people. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.